Kansas City beat Pittsburgh on Sunday night 42-21. The game was actually 0-0 for quite a while. I was surprised. I didn't think it would be close as much as it was, as long as it was. And Pittsburgh actually scored the first touchdown. TJ Watt got a fumble recovery and ran for a touchdown. So the Steelers had a lead 7-0, which, hey, that's it's as good as it got the entire game for them. Eventually, though, Kansas City got rolling, and it happened very fast. I was watching, and I was like, oh, I feel like I blinked, and suddenly it was 21-7 at halftime. And then by the second play of the fourth quarter, they were up 42-14, and you're like, what happened? It was like bang, 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 game over. Kansas City scored 6 touchdowns in a row. And you're like, all righty then. Wow. It was amazing. And Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs quarterback, he had an early interception, but after that, he was basically perfect. He was 30 for 39 passing, 404 yards, 5 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, he threw a touchdown pass. He also caught 5 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown. 8 different people caught a pass for Kansas City in this football game. And to me, it's a sign that Patrick Mahomes is really evolving. And I've been saying this for weeks now, but I keep repeating it because I want people to hear it. I want people to take it to heart. Patrick Mahomes became a better quarterback this year in 2021 and now 2022. He started the year early on, kind of a gunslinger, forcing throws into coverage, and he really had to learn some lessons, and it made him a way more successful quarterback because his decision-making is so much better. He's spreading the ball around very evenly. There was no one dominating receiver in this football game. You know, Jerick McKinnon was the leading receiver with 6 catches. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Byron Pringle each had 5. Robinson and Hardman each had 4. Like, Mahomes is making really good decisions and spreading the ball around a ton. And it's been impressive to me to watch Patrick Mahomes become more patient and less. He's aggressive and he's still very talented. Like, he'll still make a throw where you're like, you know, falling one direction, make a throw across the field, like just like doing insane stuff with his arm. He's still got the gunslinger in him, and the talent is still there. But he's become an even better decision maker and is way more polished. And honestly, like, I think early on early this year, you could have compared Patrick Mahomes to Brett Favre. And we saw, in my opinion, Patrick Mahomes this year turn a corner of decision making and polish that Brett Favre never did. And so I think it's very possible, if not likely, we're going to get, like, the 4 teams that can win the Super Bowl now: Green Bay, Tampa, or Kansas City or Buffalo. I think Kansas City should still be the favorite, and then we might get Green Bay, Kansas City, which I think is a repeat of Super Bowl I, if I'm remembering correctly. But it's going to be Tampa and Kansas City or Green Bay and Kansas City, in my opinion. I think Buffalo could sneak in there. The Rams, you know, they had a great game, but I don't trust that the Rams can win a game against Tampa and then against Green Bay to get to the Super Bowl. I still don't trust Matthew Stafford enough for him to win 2 more games on the road against Tampa than against Green Bay. Anyway, you know what I thought about when I watched this game? In fact, you know what I thought about when I watched Big Ben lose this football game? It's probably, let me be clear. I want to start with some sentimental stuff. It's probably Big Ben's final game in the NFL, losing to Kansas City. And I respect the career he had. He is for sure a Hall of Famer. He won 2 Super Bowls. And while I respect what he did in the body of work of his career, I'm not going to miss Big Ben. I'm really not. It's funny how so many people who were calling for Ben to retire for, you know, all year, 2 years ago, last year, this year, suddenly those people are getting really sentimental and going like, oh, Ben, oh, we're going to miss you, oh. And maybe it's because they realize they got no game plan after Big Ben at quarterback. I don't know. But to me, in my opinion, and if you want to get angry, I'm not trying to attack anyone. I'm letting you know. To me, Big Ben has been uncompelling and uninspiring for years. I grew up playing quarterback. Big Ben was one of the guys that potentially could have been an idol of mine, and I never looked up to Big Ben. To me, I was always inspired by Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, their work ethic, their mechanics, the drive they show, the preparation. Throughout Big Ben's career, preparation was never his biggest thing. There were years where you're like, people would write articles about how Big Ben isn't prepared, and I remember I'm like 14 going like, I'm not looking up to this guy. And Big Ben is weird because him and his fans have been talking for years about, oh, the good old days. And it's kind of like when someone always talks about the past and like, remember when I did blank, remember blank, remember blank. And it's one thing to tell a story. It's another thing to like live in the past and always you talk about the good old days. The best parts of my life I know are ahead of me, not behind me. And by the way, the last time Big Ben won a Super Bowl was in the 2008 season. February 1st, 2009. It's been a while. And Big Ben, in the second half of his career, didn't do that much. Like there's no impressive, crazy story. There's nothing, like to me, Big Ben at the end, he was mediocre. And if you try comparing Big Ben to Tom Brady, it's laughable. It's not even close. I mean, Tom Brady at 44 just led the NFL in almost every statistical category throwing the football. Ben at 39, 5 years younger, in the same year looked totally washed up. And look, he said the right stuff at the end, and he gave that speech. I gave it my all. I want you to know I did everything I could every game, and I'm a Steeler for life. And that's great marketing, and his PR person told him to say that, and good for him. But to me, my impression of Big Ben, especially towards the end, was he never seemed very driven. When you watch, Tom Brady puts out that message over and over. He's clearly working his tail off. And for a few years now, it felt like Big Ben was just kind of waiting to retire. Like, well, if they're not going to kick me out, I'll still hang out here, but I'm not working that hard. I'm kind of just, it's like, I hate to take a shot at his physique, but you're like, dude, what are you doing? So to me, again, the words that come to mind for Big Ben are uncompelling and uninspiring. He had a good start to his career and some good years early on, but the final years of his career were a lot of mediocrity and a lot of like, it's fine. And I don't want to delve into his history with women, but you read about that and you're like, wow, this guy's supposed to be like the hero of the NFL, Big Ben. In fact, if you want to read about Big Ben's history with women, you can. I read it and I was like, I don't like reading that at all. And it's kind of like we're going to look at Deshaun Watson the same way when he retires. We're going to go, hey, really talented player who kind of seemed scummy with how he handled women off the field early in his career. And I'm just, women aside, it's more about, I never looked at Big Ben and was moved or inspired. I'm not going to miss the guy. And frankly, I'm excited for a new era in Pittsburgh. I want them to get a new quarterback, and I want them to get someone new I can be excited about and rally around and who's driven and trying to connect with the young guys and building the franchise. And it felt like Pittsburgh kept Big Ben out of respect, but they probably should have gotten a new quarterback a few years ago. And I'm sorry to the people that I'm making angry, but this is all my opinion. And I'm not going to lie. I hoped that this year Big Ben would have a final year, you kind of make a comeback. And, I was like, Big Ben's, one last ride, maybe he'll put together something cool. And they made the playoffs and had kind of a cool ending to the year, but he didn't dominate. Like it wasn't he got massively overshadowed by Tom Brady this year. And again, not even competitive. And he was just, Big Ben was fine. And I believe this, and this is something that I gotta say, that if you're a Steelers fan, hate everything I said leading up to this point, but this is maybe the most important thing I'll say in this Big Ben topic, is that I don't know that Ben was the leader Pittsburgh needed in the end. I mean, there was been this weird divide recently in the locker room between old guys and young guys in Pittsburgh, and Ben never appeared to help that divide. He didn't appear to connect very well with the younger guys on the team. And Tom Brady, I am sorry to keep comparing him to Tom Brady, but I recently talked to someone who works directly for Tom Brady, and he talked about how Tom works really hard to connect with the rookies and the young guys and get on the same page with them. And I never saw anything like that from Big Ben. All I really saw from Big Ben was kind of him making weird, critical remarks about Chase Claypool and this and that. And rather than appear to build a relationship with the guy, he would just kind of criticize the guy publicly. And that's not how you build a relationship, in my opinion. And so I'm honestly very excited for Pittsburgh to find a new quarterback. Big Ben is the past, and I moved on honestly well before their game against Kansas City. It's not to say I hate Big Ben. It's not to try to. I'm not trying to tear him down at the end of his career, but I keep seeing these messages and posts from people. Oh, Big Ben's gone. Oh no, no, no. And I'm like, I'm actually kind of like, let's go. I'm really glad to see the guy gone and move on and get to the next part of whatever it looks like in Pittsburgh because it was good and it's over and I'm ready to flush it and move on. And I don't know if other people agree with that or not, but I just have never been inspired or very moved emotionally by Ben. He's just like, he's kind of a scumbag to women, kind of a mediocre quarterback towards the end, not very driven, hasn't won in a long, long time. All right, bye, Ben. Let's move on to the next. All right. Now that I lost like half my fan base and everyone's really mad at me, I don't know. It's really weird to get. I got some hate, dude. I put that thought on my Instagram story that I wasn't really sad to see Ben go. And again, I don't want my lack of sadness to be. I'm not mad at Ben. I'm just like I'm not sad. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of like, oh, good riddance. Like, let's move on and get to the next in Pittsburgh. I put that on my Instagram story. Oh my goodness, dude. I got so many hateful, mean, angry messages. And by the way, from people that clearly like have followed me for a long time and have sent me a lot of messages before that have been very nice. I'm like, apparently I said something there that like, don't attack our quarterback. And they were saying mean stuff about my ex-girlfriend, about, all kinds of stuff, just like crazy things. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm really glad to talk about sports for a living because it doesn't really matter. Like to me, there's so much awful crap going on in the world every day, everywhere. I'm just glad I talk about sports because sports for me are a great escape to focus on. When the world feels like the Hunger Games outside, I'm like, okay, at least I can watch the playoffs and enjoy that part of my life. And so I was maybe not surprised, but definitely like, oh, people are really mad about this opinion. And I'm not going to not share it because it makes people mad. But I think someone's going to agree out there and go, yeah, I kind of feel the same way about Big Ben. And that's the person I'm targeting is the people that have been hearing for weeks about how sad and tragic it is that Big Ben's leaving. And some people like me are kind of like, awesome. Let's move on to whatever's next in Pittsburgh.